Welcome to the show, Chris.
Appreciate it, man.
So, what is your sober date?
Um, to be honest, I kind of lost track of it, man. I didn't really. I was kind of an unconventional way of getting sober.
How so?
I didn't really go to meetings and do stuff like that. I kind of just replaced drinking with just other life activities.
So, you were a big
So
drinker.
yeah, drinking, cocaine. It was
Drinking and cocaine go hand in hand.
like a piss in a fart.
Yep. Yep. They definitely go hand in hand. Um, how long has it been, like year wise, do you think?
Probably like it's been a few years, man.
Been a few
It's
years,
been a few years. Yeah.
and you still
It's
don't
been
drink?
no, nope. I
That's
stopped everything altogether, man.
Was there like something that happened that made you realize you had to quit drinking?
It turned into like it turned into it started affecting my health. I was always able to drink and like my health was fine outside of me being fat. That was about it. But it turned into I started getting like bad hangovers. Um, my heart started acting up. Uh, luckily, it wasn't anything that was irreversible or anything like that. So I still have my health. But if I would have continued down the road, I don't know if I'd be here right now. You know,
Around how old were you when you roughly when you quit?
see, I'm 38 now, so like 37, 36. I mean, not 37, 36, 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, where'd you grow up?
Um, Nantucket, all over the Cape. I was born in Nantucket. I lived everywhere though. I lived all over like the South Coast area.
Yeah, so did I. I lived in Carver. I lived in Plymouth. I lived in Middleborough. I lived in New Bedford. So I kind of bounced around South Shore.
Yeah, exactly. But
I'm
I
not
think
from there.
everybody kind of does.
Well, yeah, I'm not even from there. I landed I landed in Carver when I graduated high school. My family moved up to Carver, and I'm from
All
South
right.
Jersey, right outside of Philly. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
grew up 5 minutes from Philly and where I grew up. So I figured I'll go with my parents and be a change of scenery and shit like that. So I moved up to Massachusetts and then, I went back and forth between Mass and Jersey a bunch of times. And then I
Yeah.
moved with my buddy. And then my dad and I got an apartment together in Middleborough. And when he was working up there, he had like a townhouse for the year. So I stayed with him and I bounced all around that area, man. And like you said, like everybody kind of does.
Yeah.
Um, how old were you when you started drinking?
13.
All right, you got young like me.
Yeah. I started everything all the same year. Drinking, smoking, all started the same year.
Do you still smoke?
No, no.
No.
I quit. I think I quit smoking before I quit drinking.
Even with the legalized up there and all that shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
that wasn't a temptation.
Not really, because I smoked like it was legal my whole life. So it wasn't really a big thing for me.
So you started drinking at 13. Was that
Yeah.
like a weekend thing?
Whenever. Whenever I can get it. Was weekends because mostly that's when like the parties were. So I was like a social drinker at first. I feel like that's how most people start. You drink with your
Yeah.
friends, go out on the weekends, party, um, that type of stuff. And then it kind of turned into you know, it got real bad. No, I wouldn't say real bad, but I was one of those drinkers that like you had to drag me out of the party.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't stopping until
First
I
one in,
passed
last
out.
one out.
Yeah, I was passing out.
Where Well, how did you grow up? Brothers, sisters, parents still together?
I got a younger brother and a younger sister. My parents aren't together, and she's not with my younger brother and sister. We have different fathers. She's not with them, so it was kind of just us and my mother my whole life. My mother's not a drinker, smoker, doesn't do anything. She's like straight edge.
Yeah, that's my parents. Well, my mom, she'll drink maybe like once a week. She'll go out with her girlfriends to like trivia night and have some drinks.
Yeah.
Um, but like, and my dad, when he was alive, he barely drank. So, but I started drinking when I was 11. Um, but it was more to like rebel. My parents weren't drinkers, but they knew how to throw a party. And there
Yeah.
would always be leftover liquor, and I would steal that leftover liquor and drink it. You know what I
Hell yeah.
mean?
Hell yeah.
And I grew up in a town where we had, 4 bars and a liquor store. So it was easy to like, hey, homeless dude, can you go buy me some alcohol and you can keep the change? That kind of thing.
Hmm.
So it was really easy to get liquor where I'm from or beer. Because Massachusetts, correct me if I'm wrong, you can only get liquor at a packy, right?
Yeah. Out here, we didn't have the liquor stores. I mean the liquor inside of like I don't know where you at right now.
I'm in PA.
Oh, you're in P. Okay, so I was down south. I moved to Florida for a little bit, and when I went to Florida, I it was like I'm walking into Walgreens and they got Walgreens liquors, and I was like, "What's this?" They had
Yeah.
drive-through liquor stores. I was like, "I could drive. You could drive through the liquor store. They'll give you a cup like this with some ice in it for 50 cents, and then buy your drink."
Yep. It's fucking crazy, man. I
Hmm.
lived in North Carolina for a year, and North Carolina, there's those drive-throughs also, and where you just pull up and say, "I need this case of this, a case of that," and they just place that shit in your back seat for you, and you're off to go. You don't got to even get out of the car.
Yeah.
And make it, and then plus, like you could go to the gas station, and you can buy anything at the. Well, no, you guys have wine at your gas stations, right? Wine and beer.
So you can get beer and wine. Yeah, you can't get the liquor.
Okay, see, I'm from Jersey, and in Jersey, you can only go to liquor stores. You can't get wine, beer, liquor, and anywhere else besides a liquor store.
Gotcha. All right.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
you
out
can't
here you can get beer and
like,
wine at like Stop and Shop. Sometimes they'll have them.
yeah, no, not even at grocery stores. You can't even buy like Walmart sells beer in other states.
Yeah.
Um, but the Walmart, near where I lived, they did not sell beer. You have to have a dedicated, unless you're like a bar, then you can sell like 6 packs and shit. We used to get like 6 packs from this one bar. But you couldn't even buy a 30 pack. You have to buy it as 6 packs. And they charge you like $1 a beer whenever you buy it, like as a 6 pack.
Yeah.
So you grew up with just you and your sister?
Sister and brother. But I
Okay.
was in and out of like foster homes, group homes, DYS, shit like that. I kind of like got taken away from the home a lot.
Is
I had
there
a
a
lot of
specific?
legal issues and stuff like that.
I was
I
gonna
got put
say
on I got put on a chins when I was like 13,
I got put on the
and
what?
a chins. It's a child in need of services. When you're like missing school too much or you're acting up in school, things like that, they put you on a chins order, which is a child in need of services. It's kind of like DCF, DYS, and the school are all working together to try to figure out what they're going to do with you. As my first time getting arrested, everything was at 13. First time getting arrested, 13 years old.
For what?
Um, that was that. I think it was threatening to commit a crime. I think
Threatening to
that's what it
commit?
was. I missed threatening to commit a crime. Yeah, because I had an issue with somebody and I told them I was going to kill him. Yeah, they called the
Man,
cops on me, And I was like, I went back and I was like, yeah, I'll fucking kill you. Stupid shit. I'm 13. Like, empty threat, but they felt it was real enough to call the cops back, and I got arrested for that.
So you were, getting in trouble then.
Yep.
Were you getting
It's
in
getting.
trouble at school too?
Oh yeah, school was like kind of what started. That's where the trouble really started. That's where they started to get to like know my name, know who I was, and things like that. Um, Again, trouble in school, just not listening, not paying attention, I had anger issues, just all sorts of stuff like that. So, yeah,
Now, so you said you didn't grow up with your dad really around.
no,
No. And was your mom remarried?
no. She married some dude when I was like 15, but that was kind of like we don't even count that one. That guy, yeah, no, that guy was that wasn't one of those situations where she wants to remember. So
In and out.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you're 13 and you're already getting in trouble and you're already drinking and shit, drinking and smoking. Were you doing drugs yet or just drinking and smoking?
That was just drinking and smoking. The drugs came like the next year. That's when
And
kind of like the
you were in high
cocaine.
school?
Yeah, I was in high school. And that was kind of like a net because I was scared to try it. I was like, oh, if I try coke, I'm gonna OD. Like that was like my mind. I didn't know very much about because I mean when Nantucket and like the Cape areas, there's crackheads and cokeheads and stuff like that. But it's not like how you see when you go to other areas where they're out and about and like physically like, yo, that dude's a crackhead. Like you can tell that guy's a crackhead. It's more like that guy smokes crack every day, but he also gets up and goes to work at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a very blue collar town. It's not
Yeah.
like other places, Like you
Yeah.
got
I
crackers
mean,
that are making more money than the drug dealers.
yeah, I was talking to someone before that he lived homeless for like 10 years all throughout the country and would travel through freight trains and just hop on different freight trains and travel that way. And he was like, in some cities, I could stand out the bottom of a highway with a sign and make $100 an hour.
Yeah, I believe it. I
He's like,
believe it.
you have a funny sign and you look a little bit like you could use some help. He's like, you'll make good money just sitting down there. And I was like, damn, man. He's like, yeah, it was easy money, and all I had to do was just stand out there with a sign, and I could afford my habit, and I wasn't driving anywhere, and I didn't have any bills, so the money all went to drugs and shit.
Mm,
Because
there
he
you go.
was living off traveling around the country on freight trains. That's the first time I've heard that one. Like,
That's that's the old school hobo, man. The old school You ever see the cartoons where the guy's got a long stick with the fucking pouch tied up
yeah,
at the end of it, and he's
yeah,
on the friggin' train? Yeah, that's the old school hobo, man. They hop the train and wherever the train takes them, riding the
yeah.
rail.
That was like, what movie was that? Problem Child, I think, or
Oh
no?
yeah, with the
Was
little
it? Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I forgot. Yep, that was a Problem Child too. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. And there was another movie that I'm thinking of too. I can't remember. I can't like place it. It's from the 90s. So we're the same age. I'm 38 also.
Oh, right
So
on.
yeah, we'll get a lot of the same references.
Yeah.
Uh,
So if you ever watched Of Mice and Men, that's how George and Lenny traveled around too.
oh, is it?
Yeah, they I think when they come into town, I know at the very end after he kills Lenny and stuff, he hops on the train and he's riding off on the train, like kind of just. But I believe when they come into town, they came in on the train.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've heard of it. Like that's like one of those classic books. And it's
Classic book, classic movie. It was one of the only movies that kind of lived up to being as good as the book.
The Outsiders.
Oh, my first book that I read all the way through
Yeah, me
on my
too.
own.
Yep.
I loved that book.
Yep.
S.E. Hinton was only 16 when she wrote that too.
Yep, and she was in the movie too.
Was she?
She she was one of the nurses that would come to uh
Johnny?
no uh which called Matt Dillon when
Oh,
he was in the
Derry.
hospital. Yeah, when he
Yeah,
was in the hospital after saving those kids, she was the one he yells at. Um,
gotcha. Okay.
so
I
yeah,
didn't know that.
she was a nurse. Dude, I was 11 when I first read that. Like I had heard from like my older friends, you got to read this book. And so I read it a year before we had to in school. And
Yeah.
so did my best friend. And we were like, we want to be cool like them. And that's when we drank for the first time. We were 11 because we were like, we could be cool like them and drink. And, we drank over that shit. And then we watched the movie.
Yeah.
Because then my dad's like, well, if you like the book, you're going to love the movie. So he got us the movie on.
Fucking star-studded lineup.
I know.
Like
It is
ridiculously Patrick Swayze, Tom Cruise, Matt Dillon, like freaking the lineup in that movie is like holy shit. It's like another like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's like all these people before they got really famous, you know.
Emilio Estevez.
Emilio Estevez, yep, he played Two Bit.
Yep, 2-bit. And
Yeah.
yeah, and, Diane Lane is the girl in that movie.
Cherry Valance.
Terry Val, yeah, yep.
Yep.
And obviously,
Ralph
Marcy
Macchio.
Ralph Macchio. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
So
Johnny.
yeah, it's Rob Lowe.
Oh
Rob Lowe.
yeah, he was a Soda Pop, I think.
Yeah, he was Soda Pop. And
Yep.
C. Thomas Howell is a great actor too, and he would play,
Yep.
Pony Boy.
Pony Boy. Yep.
Yep. So it's one of those movies where it came out in like 1983. I feel like.
Yeah, before and like everybody in there kind of blew up into the mid to the late 80s.
Yeah. Yep. Tom Cruise blew up a couple movies later when he did Risky Business.
I was never a big Tom Cruise fan.
You never were?
No, never. I mean, I respected his work and stuff like that, but I was never a big Tom Cruise fan personally myself.
Yeah, I haven't seen everything he's in. He was good as Jack Reacher. That was a good movie with him in it. I didn't see the second one though. Um so you're 14 and were you hanging out with older kids a lot?
Yeah, um, so I lived on Nantucket till I was 5 or 6, whatever, and then I left for a couple of years, and I came back. When I left, I was about 5, 6. No, actually, I was like 5 because that's when my brother was born, and then my sister was born. They're like a year apart. And the guy that my mother had kids with, my brother and sister's father, he was abusive. He used to beat the shit out of me and my mother. So that kind of like was kind of what started, you know, I don't know if that's what started like my issues, but that was the first like real like traumatic thing that I went through as a child. I went back to Nantucket when I was, I went to a few programs. I was in Boston at the Italian Home for Children. I was in the Key program in Yarmouth, which is now like RFK. I was in Pembroke Hospital, a mental hospital. And then when I came back, when I was 12, I met up with, older friends that I remember from back then. And then the ones who I met were like, a couple years older. I had a cousin, my cousin Smurf, if he sees this, shout out Smurf Gotti. He was older than me, like I think maybe 3, maybe 4 years or something like that. So all my friends and all my older cousins were, a couple years older than me. So I did kind of hang out with like the older kids in my class and a few ones that were in my class.
Yeah.
It's a mixture.
Yeah, no, I was the same kind of way where like I was going where the parties were, and the parties were at the junior and senior houses,
Yep.
and where they were throwing parties in the woods and shit like that. Then I was going in the woods.
That's
And
where we always met them, in the parties.
yep, I got alcohol poisoning one time drinking in the woods. I showed up late, dude. I showed up late to the party, and so I had like a fifth of Bacardi O, and I drank it in 10 minutes. 'cause I was
I
trying to.
forget. Do they even still make that shit?
I don't know, man. This was 2003.
Party. Oh,
And that was my first and only time I ever drank that shit. I could never drink it again. Like it was I didn't ask for it. I asked for Rumplemans. Remember Rumplemans?
mm,
And I asked for Rumplemans. And the problem is when you're asking people that are 21 that don't give a fuck, when they go buy you liquor, they're gonna buy whatever they're gonna buy and they're gonna keep the
yeah,
change. And
exactly.
it was cheaper to buy Bacardi than Rumplemans, so they got me Bacardi. So I showed up to the party and I was a little late, so I was like, I'm gonna play catch up. And I drank that bottle in 10 minutes and ended up in the hospital that night. So
My first drink was Jose Cuervo.
you are the first person that I would say rivals mine with Captain Morgan was my first drink. So you're the first person that I've talked to that had like a hard liquor as your first ever drink.
So Captain Morgan became my regular drink because my
Okay.
cousin's father, Uncle Shorty, rest in peace, Uncle Shorty, he used to drink uh, Captain Morgan. So that was his. I think you know what? I take it back. My very first drink that I ever tried was Bacardi 151. My friend gave it to me. His dad had it, and he was like, "Here, try a shot of this. You ever drank before?" I was like, "No." I'm like, "No, I'll try it." He gives me a shot glass. Boop! I take a shot of it, and like immediately my fucking throat closed up. I was just like, but my first time drinking with the intent of like getting fucked up was
Jose.
Jose Cuervo. Yeah, there was a kid at this party, and I first pulled up, or like you said, first one at the party. He's like, "Hey, who wants to have a chugging contest with me?" And I was like, "Me." So he gives me the bottle, and I immediately chug close to half of it. It was a I'm pretty sure I had alcohol poisoning that night. I just didn't go to the hospital for it. But
Yeah.
he I drank like almost half of it. It was a handle. This wasn't a liter bottle. This was a handle. So he gives me the handle. I drink almost half of it, and I'm having the time of my life. It hits me. I'm drunk as shit. I'm running around the party. I'm like, hell yeah, man, fucked up. Somebody says cops, and I run. Turns out it was a false cop call. You know, there wasn't any cops there. And I was like, all right. And then when I turned around to head back to the party, that's when my brain was like, something ain't right. something, something's going on here. And I just got dizzy, and I just puked everywhere.
Yep.
And yeah, that night after that, I basically ended up on the ground, in and out of consciousness for the rest of the night. I found out years later down the road that I was on my back choking on my own vomit, and somebody actually flipped me over. This girl Savannah, whose house it was, flipped me over onto my side,
It saved your life.
saved my life, and I didn't even fucking know it.
Yeah. And I know how easy Jose can go down. Some people can't drink tequila, but I could drink tequila. My brother and I,
I
no
didn't
matter
after that.
you couldn't after that, I'm sure.
After
I
that,
had
yeah, no, that was nope.
no, this was like probably I don't know, 8 years ago, 7 years ago. My brother and I was in the midst of my pill addiction, and I was high on Perk 30s and Roxy's, whatever you want to call them, and we went shot for shot with he went to the liquor store and bought 2 bottles of Jose, and we went shot for shot and we drank both of our bottles. Like we both finished a bottle and still both of us were standing. So then we broke out Jameson, and within 3 shots, I'm like, listen, if I quit, you gonna quit? Like, we can't do any more fucking shots.
Yeah,
We both were like, fine, it's a tie. Because that shit, I can't do Jameson. I could do shots of Jack Daniels like it was going out of style. But Jameson, I could only drink mixed with like Coke. I could never drink that shit straight.
I never mixed my drinks. And as I
Oh,
got older, I realized like this is why my stomach is getting all fucked up, and I have like acid reflux and all this shit, and I'm young.
yeah. So
Everything I drank straight. No chaser.
no, I definitely use chasers. That shit's intense, bro.
Yep.
So what about in your 20s? How did you drink and progress when you turned 21?
So I got locked up at 21. I didn't really.
Well,
It
when
was
did
all
you
the same to me. It was the same to me because I'd been buying liquor since I was like 16, 15. Because
Okay,
I
so
already
you looked
looked
older.
old enough. Yeah, I looked old enough where I could, like, once the facial hair started coming in, I could go to the liquor store and I could just I'd throw on the little fake deep voice and I'd be like, "Hey, how's it going today?" Something like that. And I'd get whatever it is that I needed. It was very rare that I would get carded, but if I did, I just found it next door. So turning 21 wasn't really a big deal for me. It didn't make it any better or worse. When I was 21, like at the end of the year, I actually ended up getting locked up, and I did 3 years.
What'd you get locked up for, if you don't mind me asking?
It was a list. So I was already on probation for Grand Theft Auto, and which they dropped down to unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. We had stole something like 15, 20 cars, but they caught us with one. So we didn't get charged with all of them. We only got caught with the one. Um, Receiving stolen property because we had, stole a bunch of shit out of the cars that we had broken into. Um, Let me see, disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace, and then the big ones were home invasion, trafficking, and conspiracy.
What were you?
Those assault and battery with a deadly weapon.
So do you have like coke on you?
Yeah. So we actually, I was giving somebody a ride because he didn't have a license at the time, and he was like, "Oh, give me a ride. I'll bust you an 8 ball out of it." I was like, "All right, bet." At the time, I was living in a hotel with this chick, one of my friends and shit, and I was like, "All right, yeah, I'll do that." So I give him a ride. Come to find out, he's getting followed by the cops. I didn't know at the time. He got followed, and we get pulled over, and like these two cars are in front of us. These two SUVs are in front of us side by side, and all of a sudden they slow down to like 55, and I'm like, "What the fuck are these dudes doing?" And then all of a sudden it clicked in my mind, like, "Oh shit!" And then the lights came on behind me, and it was almost like relief, to be honest with you. Like, I spent so much time running. I had been in trouble with the law since I was 13 years old. I got off of probation when I was 18. I got put back on in like 18 in like 2 months. So I've been on probation basically from age 13 to age 21. I was always in and out of jail, in and out of group homes, foster homes, whatever. Um, so it kind of like when they came and they pulled me out of the car, they came up with like they had M16s and everything drawn on us and shit. I was like, God damn, dude, it's like for some coke. But I was like, I just kind of felt like a relief wash over me, and it was like I'm done running. You know, this is going to be the end of me running.
Yeah. And did you served all 3 years?
So they gave me the option because I was fighting the home invasion charge. The home invasion charge I beat because I was looking. So I got locked up for the home invasion charge before I caught the trafficking charge. I got bailed out. When I caught the trafficking charge, they kept me locked up because I had so many charges. To be honest with you, they could have hit me with like a career criminal because I had so many felonies,
Yeah.
but they didn't. and I ended up beating the home invasion charge. They dropped it down to B&E nighttime.
B&E. I love the other charges that can happen when they're trying to like give people a break and they drop charges down. Like I got arrested with intent to distribute in a school zone and an eighth of marijuana. And this was 2018 before that shit was legal in New Jersey. And
Yeah.
and they tried to hit me with intent to distribute in the school zone because they watched me leave my dealer's house, and then they pulled me over in the school zone.
In the school zone.
Yeah.
You know what? They did that to my aunt, and she ended up, because it's all, I don't know about Jersey, but out here it's automatic 2 years mandatory when you're in a school zone.
Well, and it's the same thing in Jersey. They're not fucking around when it comes to their laws over there.
Yeah.
And I had 20 pills on me, and I was like, listen, I'm not distributing shit. Said I have a problem and I need all 20 of these. I was like, so they're not for sale to anybody, especially children. You followed me from my dealer's house and then you waited for me to be in the school zone and pull me over here. I was like, I'm not standing outside with a sign saying buy my pills to these fucking kids.
Yeah.
You guys pull me over here. And I ended up going to rehab and shit, and not their recommendation. I went on my own. I forgot I got arrested when I went to rehab. I was like on my plane to Los Angeles, and I'm like, oh shit, I got court in 2 weeks. Like I forgot about that shit. And when I got to rehab, they told them that I was in rehab, so they couldn't come after me for skipping it. You know what I mean? Like if you're under their doctor's orders, then you can't get in trouble for missing court. So that got postponed for like 9 months. And then I got it all dropped, and they dropped it to unidentifiable pills and a green leafy substance. So I always laugh when I hear funny shit like the one you said about getting it dropped to a B&E at nighttime.
Yeah, they hit you with that nighttime B&E. I got lucky with that one because when I got arrested for that one, I was looking at, my lawyer came in and he was like, listen, this is time. Like you're looking at 18 to potentially, the charge at hold, because armed masked home invasion is what they hit me with. And it holds 18 to life. Was the charge. But because of the person who it was against, so when I went to the court date, I took it to trial because if your lawyer is telling you to take it to trial, because like they weren't offering me, the DA wasn't offering me a deal, and this is the only time I've ever seen this happen. It's the only time my lawyer ever saw this happen. Because when I was in the emergency room, because I was all drunk when I caught the charge. When I was in the emergency room, I got hit with a baseball bat during this whole ordeal because again I was fucked up. They were like, "Listen, we want the guy that hit him with the bat." There was 3 of us, only 2 of us got caught. They're like, "Listen, we want the 3rd guy." I wouldn't give him up. That was my buddy I was living with, I was running with at the time. I wouldn't give him up. So I was like, nah. And he's like, you realize this holds 18 to life? And I was like, I'll fight it. So my lawyer told me, he's like, listen, do you want to give that guy up? That's the only way you're going to get a deal. And I was like, no. The DA didn't give me a deal. The judge gave me a deal. My lawyer said he's never seen this happen in the history of anything that's ever happened. That he's never saw a judge give the deal. Because I guess the judge who was doing the charge, who I was going there with, this is my first day of trial, mind you. I'm downstairs waiting to go up to the courtroom. The lawyer comes down to me. He said, I never saw this happen before. The judge wants to cut you a deal. I was like, all right. I guess the guy who I did the thing against, he has a laundry list of charges just like that one. And the judge, he had him a few different times on charges he had beat or charges he finagled his way out of, things like that. So the judge is the one who gave me my deal. And when I went up there, the police were there. They had the bag with like the bloody clothes inside of it. He was there. His girl was there at the time. And the judge was like, oh, we have a deal going on. And the DA tried to jump in. And the judge just put a hand up. He was like, nope. We got to, and the judge said, this is a case of, um, you know, the chicken's coming home to roost. That's what he said. The chicken's coming home to roost. Basically, that guy got what he deserved because he had done it to so many people.
I was gonna say, yeah. So the dude that you were robbing was somebody who had a lot of trouble with the law himself.
And specifically with that judge.
Yeah. So can I ask why you targeted him for home invasion? Was it because he was somewhat of a player?
No, no, no. I was just with somebody, and he was like, "Hey, the guy behind me owes me $8,000. If you come over there and get it with me, I'll fucking give you half." So me and my boy were like, "Okay." We're drunk. We're young and we're drunk. We didn't care.
Yeah.
We're ready for anything. Anytime somebody brought up some type of violence or issue or ordeal, I was with it.
Yeah.
Especially if I was drinking.
It's almost like in The Town when he says, you've seen The Town, I'm sure, with Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
And he says to Jeremy Renner, like, we got to hurt some people and you can't ask me any questions. And he's like, whose car are we driving? Like, that was his only question was, whose car are we driving?
Yep.
So
It was situation just like that. But that one, I I didn't realize it at the time because I was young. But my lawyer told me afterwards. He was like, if this was against me, you'd be doing that time. You'd be doing that time. The only reason why you got away with this because of the person that it was and the judge that we had.
yeah,
And I was like, you know what? Give me my paperwork on this case, all my, all the deal and all that stuff, because I was going upstate for the trafficking. I knew that. I knew that. I was like, give me my paperwork because I want proof that I'm like not a rat. Like this deal doesn't sound like one of those deals. It sounds like one of those deals that you may, I was like, nah, give me my paperwork, give me my court out, the stenographer reports, everything that you can give it to me so that people know that this wasn't one of those kind of deals,
Yeah, because it's almost like too good to be true. Like, hey, how did Chris beat that?
Yeah, he didn't even. The judge himself said he's never. I mean, the lawyer himself said he's never seen it happen. And when I was leaving, the detective who had my bloody clothes inside of the bag. So where I was, I had to take the elevator back downstairs to the holding cells, and I just so happened to get on the elevator with the detective while he was holding the bloody clothes, and he looks at me and I look at him and he mutters something under his breath. And I was like, hey, man, you can't win them all. Which was stupid to say. I'm just so happy I didn't get all this time. I'm like floating like, yes, like I got Beanie Nighttime. It's going to run concurrent with my sentence because I already got sentenced for the trafficking.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But when I was in the courtroom and they were like, "Oh, you're gonna get B&E Nighttime. It's gonna run concurrent 6 months." Him and his girl, I heard them. They were right behind me. They were like, "What?" They were not happy. And then the judge gave his explanation and was like, "Well, her explanation," and was like, "Yeah, this, the chicken's coming home to roost." This is not a nice person, but I can't remember exactly. I can look up the stenographer report on like exactly what she said, but basically, yeah, she was being slick and saying you got what you deserved without saying you got what you deserved.
And it sounds like he got what he deserved because if he owed your buddy $8,000, that means he was fucking over people, and going to court all the time for other shit that he was doing and having a slick lawyer kept getting him off of getting a lot of trouble. I could see him easily being fucking kids out of their money too.
Yeah. So he wasn't very happy about that, but it is what
awesome.
it is.
Fuck him.
That's a chunk of my past that, I look at it now and I just realize like how fortunate I am. Like it didn't really hit me until like way later when I actually thought like, yo, I could have ended up with so much time. So much time. Like there's times to this day where I still sit here and I think about it. Like 18 years. I would just be getting out. I probably would have got. I mean, with 18 years, the way the good time system works up here, You get 7 days a month, good time. So I would have ended up. I would have been out, a couple years ago.
But still,
But still, you know,
yeah, yeah, that's awesome, man. So you when you got out of jail, your drinking progressed again and picked up where it left off at.
you know, subsided. I stopped drinking after that whole situation. Stopped drinking, stopped doing, drugs. That's what kind of got me on the sober path. I had a little, setbacks here and there, but that was kind of what changed my mentality and made me say to myself, there has to be a change. The hard part came after that when I got free, and it was like, okay, so how do I change? Because I worked on the not drinking, not smoking, and stuff like that. I didn't work on, I did work partially on my mental, but not enough to sit up and, be where I wanted to be mentally. So I was kind of still a prick, you
Yeah,
know. That's the stuff that's what I really like nail into people's heads. When I said I didn't get, clean conventionally, I don't do meetings. I go now. It's more to socialize and be around sober people. But meetings didn't get me clean, and they didn't keep me clean. Every time I went to meetings, and I like, it's always war stories and stuff. I mean, yeah, everybody likes to, like we sitting here, we're talking, and it's like, yeah, I did this, I did that. Yeah. But you know what? If I don't want to go sit and listen to that every, multiple times a week, because that just makes me want to drink and get high and do all this other stuff. I replaced drinking with, it's like, all right, well, what do I do to not drink? How about I try playing guitar? Never played guitar before. Let's start getting into that. So I started getting into guitar, playing that. I said, you know what? Let me start, getting into, my mom's into the stones and crystals and all the hippie stuff. Let me start meditating. Let me start doing yoga. Let me start, mentally starting to try to make these changes so that I'm not bored and thinking to myself, oh, the liquor store's up the street, or oh, this is, that, whatever. Because
yeah. My wife is like a self. She's a witch. Like she does all like
Wiccan
spells.
stuff and all that.
Yeah, she does all that
Yeah.
kind of shit. She's got all the different crystals, different rings, depending on what she's doing. She's
Yep.
got
My mom
different.
does the same thing.
She's got her own like altar. Your mom probably has an altar too, where
I
they
think she, I think she was building a little altar off in the corner and stuff.
yeah
Yeah, she had a little.
little
I got into
full moon
the
rituals.
Buddhist thing. I kind of leaned more towards like the Buddhism,
Dude,
because
check out
Buddhism
Recovery
was
Dharma. That's my wife does.
recovery karma.
Yeah, my wife does Recovery Dharma. It's a Buddhist approach to sobriety.
Hell yeah, I'll rock with that.
Yeah, I'll send you the information on Messenger. I've
Okay.
had my wife on here talking about Recovery Dharma, and I've had one of the people that she knows from those meetings on my show, and both talking about Recovery Dharma and shit like that. And they have their own book, just like AA and NA do. And
Yeah.
they talk about meditation a lot. In every meeting, they meditate for like 10-15 minutes, and they have meditation music and all that. And she's 4.5 years sober. My wife is, and she uses Recovery Dharma meetings. She does one at 9 a.m. every day, and then she does like one at 9 p.m. on Mondays and Thursdays. She runs her own meeting Wednesday nights. She does like 3 or 4 on the weekends. So she loves Recovery Dharma. I do NA personally. I do NA during the week, and I do GA on the weekends because I got a gambling problem too. So, but my GA meeting is based out of Las Vegas because I figured if anyone can stop gambling, it's people in Las Vegas. So, and my NA group is based out of Rhode Island. It's based out of Pawtucket, actually. So it's a bunch of
Okay.
people from New England that I'm sitting in NA meetings Zoom with every day at noon. So, I find the meetings help me, but they don't help everybody. And like you said, it's a lot of war stories and shit like that, and like joking around, fucking around, and all that. But yeah, everyone stays clean and sober in different ways. I'm not here to judge. You know what I mean? Like, if
Yeah.
meetings didn't get you sober, then meetings didn't get you sober, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
Meetings help me. I mean, now I use it as a way to like
meet people.
socialize, hang
Yeah,
out with people and stuff. Like I got people that sitting out in my car waiting for me right now to because I meet up with people and end up making friends and stuff like that. And they're like, "Oh, you've been sober a while. How'd you do it?" And it's kind of like I give we I I'm not one of those people that preaches the NA literature, but it's like we only keep what we have by giving it away. And that's kind of part of what I do. I like to talk to people who are coming in struggling, things like that, and yeah, give them a little knowledge that I do have because I'm a peculiar case. I know my case is different. A lot of people are here to like get clean. I'm here to get
stay
sane.
cool. Yeah.
It's
Yep.
it's part of my mental like.
And it's how you can meet people that are also like-minded. You know what I mean? Meet
Yeah,
people that are clean and sober and living clean and sober, and kind of get some inspiration from that too, I'm sure.
yeah,
So, well, I'll let you go, but I appreciate you coming on and talking about your history with me so much.
yeah. We can. I'd like to do a deep dive with you one of these days, man. Get on here and do another one of these. I like getting on here and talking to people. You know,
Well, yeah, we can
kind of getting
definitely
more about the
figure something
foster homes, group homes, and stuff like that. Because the growing up in that, there's a lot of people who grew up like that, and it's always I found that like when I come across somebody who's been in a foster home or a group home or something like that, it's almost like a trauma bond where
Well,
it's like,
I have
oh,
another show called The Unlicensed Therapist, and I could have you on that show, and that's more of a deep dive into trauma and shit.
hell
So,
yeah,
given your growing up and how you grew, this is more about addiction, this show.
yeah,
And I started noticing more and more people have a lot of trauma in their past. But we weren't doing a deep dive into the trauma in the past because it's more about addiction and recovery. So I
mm-hmm.
started this second show, The Unlicensed Therapist, where I talk to people about trauma and how they grew up and how it shaped who they are. So
Yeah,
we can definitely figure out sometime that you can come on to that show and do a deeper
you
dive into
know,
your history, bro.
yeah. We'll talk about it after this.
Yep. All right, bro. Have a good night.
Right on.
See ya.